Hello, friends, and welcome to Figure Study, where we appreciate the form in Transformers. And for once, I'm actually not ahead of the curve, but kind of riding along the curve with a more current figure. Got the Transformers, the movie The Last Night Barricade, the premiere edition. Whatever that means. I don't know. But yeah. Barricade. It is currently the only figure from the last night that I have because it's the only one that's available that I felt inclined to get my hands on right away. The Optimus looks all right. The Berserker looks okay, but I actually kind of really liked Barricade for a couple of reasons, which I will of course get into. And first off, I'm doing the accessories this time. So that's why this stupid thing is clipped on here, but I hate how that looks, so we're just gonna put this off to the side and deal with that when we get to robot mode. But Barricade's vehicle mode is still a cop car. I mean, obviously. And this is actually, I kind of really like this cop car. It's not quite the same as his previous iterations, which is fine. I actually really kind of dig this super dark blue, like really dark navy blue. It's not, I mean, it's still obviously blue. You're not going to mistake it for black because, you know, like you've got the black on the hood there, but I like this color. I think it's neat. And honestly, I kind of prefer a really dark blue and white instead of black and white. So I think that looks nice. And I actually kind of like how you've got just a little bit of black that kind of merges in with the blue and the detail in the front here and the strip going up the hood. And yeah, it looks good. It really does. And they actually painted taillights on this thing. I'm kind of impressed. I also like how they've got the little to punish and enslave going over both of the rear wheel wells. And yeah, I mean, obviously, this is not a cop car you want showing up to help you, but yeah, it's a nice looking car. The only real complaint that I have, I mean, you know, yeah, there's visible robot underneath, but no one's going to be looking at it from that angle. The only real complaint that I have is, well, it's a twofold thing. One, because there's this gap in the back and the windows are all clear. You kind of have that going on, which isn't a huge deal, especially if you have it like down on a surface, especially a darker surface, which, incidentally, I want to point out, all of the windows are uniform. It's not like, you know, the first, like the passenger or driver's side and windscreen are clear and then everything else is painted. No, it's like it's clear all the way through or translucent all the way through, and I'm super glad that they decided to at least be uniform with it. But yeah, aside from the gap thing, the only other thing that kind of bugs me is the light bar. The light bar on top, it doesn't look bad, but it's a little bit muted. I feel like if the red and blue were a little bit brighter, and if this was a little bit either a lighter gray or even a silver, it would be nicer. But all things considered, it's not bad. I think the colors are probably nicer, and they just put a sort of smoky plastic like this over top, which is why it looks a little bit more muted. But, I mean, it's not bad. And, I mean, the front, I really like the front of this vehicle, too. There's some nice molded detail in there. Especially in the headlights. Like, just, those really pop. And, like, you can actually see, it almost looks like there are eyes in there. Or, you know, the Michael Bayified insect transformer eyes, but still. It looks really good. And you've got, of course, the flashers in the front, which I like the four in the grill thing. It's just, I like the shape of this car. I like the color scheme. It is very cool. The only other gripe, again, you know, muted, gap. The only other gripe is the same gripe I always have. The rims could do with some paint. But I mean, all things considered, I'm genuinely impressed with how much paint and detail there actually is on this vehicle. I mean, again, you know, there's not a lot, but it's in places that I think really do matter. And I super duper appreciate, again, the fact that this back window, these other back windows aren't just like solid plastic. So Looks really nice. And I'm gonna bring this down a little bit so we can do a more direct size comparison. Raise that up. Okay. So there we have Barricade, and put him next to a Titan's Return Deluxe. And they're roughly the same size. Barricade's a little bit longer, but not quite as thick. Yeah, he's a pretty decent size, honestly. And also, for just the general size comparison, there you go. And yeah, I mean, it's a surprisingly good-looking vehicle, especially for a 2017 movie toy. I honestly would have thought that they would have all just been really shameless repaints like they did with Bumblebee. And no, I am not getting Bumblebee because that figure looked dumb to me the first time around, and I have no interest in it the second time around with even less paint. But yeah, Barricade. Very nice car. So let's turn him into a robot. And now we have Barricade as a robot. And I'm actually quite fond of this robot mode, to be honest. I mean, I didn't dislike Barricade's original robot mode, but he looked a little bit too weirdly proportionate, I think. And I kind of like how this Barricade is getting more into sort of normal human proportions. Like, he looks much more humanoid than previous Barricades. And yeah, he's neat. I do like the large shoulder wheels. I like how they kept those, but like they're more accoutrements now, which I think look good. Got some nice detail on the forearms. I mean, he's covered in detail as usual, and then you get some newly revealed stuff like the midsection here, which there is a little bit of molded detail on the underneath, on the underside there as well, which is cool. And some more details on the legs, and there is actually a subtle difference where you've got some black and that really dark blue on both the forearms and the shins and calves, which I do like. And as you may have noticed, his other accessories, the nightstick and the pistol, can actually stay attached to his hips the entire time during transformation. So we've got his feet, which don't look bad. Not entirely sure why this little nubbin is there. I guess it's just a stylistic thing. It doesn't actually serve any other purpose. This little detail here, it kind of makes it look like it's showing toes, almost like he's wearing sandals or something, which is a little bit weird. But then I do like this little bit of white for the knee pads. That is a nice detail. And yeah, it's just very nice overall. The dark blue and black do kind of bleed together a little bit more in robot mode, I think, because you've got so many other colors in here, just specifically like the gray and the tan gray. And I do think it's a little disappointing how both the arms and the legs, they kind of just go from, gray to tan to gray, and I don't know why they couldn't have just been either all tan or all gray, but it is what it is. So I'm gonna pop off his accessories here and deal with those in a minute. Now that head is one of the reasons why I really was interested in this, because I really like that head. And it's got that, like, it's hard to tell, it's not really focusing, but he's got like a super teeny tiny Decepticon symbol on his forehead, which I think is unnecessary. But I really like those eyes. It's like, he's got a human shape, but his head is still very much alien with those 4 beady red eyes. And I am quite into that. I think it looks really good. So yeah, like his head. And I do, of course, have the same issue that a lot of people have where he's got this enormous turtle shell on his back. But there's stuff we can do about that, which I'll get into in a little bit. Now, in terms of those accessories, it's this pistol, which looks pretty good. It's sort of like a almost RoboCop-esque oversized handgun, and I like that. And that goes right in his hand, as you would expect. Then there's the nightstick, baton, whatever you want to call it, which is very simple, but, gets the job done. And that can either be held like this or like this. And he holds it really well either way. Like, I've seen a video, I think it was Emgo's video, where this was loose if he held it this way, but on mine, it's actually really solid. Like, he's not letting that go accidentally. And this is one thing that I was interested in knowing and couldn't find in other videos, but I was kind of hoping. He can actually hold the tonfa underslung like that. So yeah, if you want to do it, you can totally do that. You can even swing it around this way for some of that cool, cool getting ready to throw down action. And that, to me, just looks very, very cool. He kind of makes me think of, this is what RoboCop would be like if he were a Transformer and evil. And I'm okay with that. I think it's really neat. And then lastly, there's this thing, which I'm still not a fan of, even in robot mode, because it's like you have these gaps on the underarm here, and these pegs here, and it like sandwiches in there, which is fine, and then it wraps around, and these bits kind of come together. It doesn't actually clip or anything. And you can, to the toy's credit, you can put this around his hand without it getting in the way of the weapons he might be holding. But I'm not really a huge fan of this, so I tend to just leave it clipped onto the hood. One other thing I want to point out, which I think a lot of people have also seen already, but show this. They actually molded... Come on. There you go. You can see on one fist it says protect, on the other one serve. And it's silly, but I kind of really like that little detail. It's kind of messed up, but messed up in a good way. Now, the last thing is that turtle shell on his back. And this is something that, again, I saw in Emgo's video, which I absolutely do think is great. What I want to do is take this out and pin that on here. And as a lot of people have seen, you can extend this armature out, and you can actually just pop this right off, and it just clips right back in. And that cleans him up so much more. And that looks really good to me, like without that extra little bit. And then can actually take this, and I haven't found a good way to do it yet. I'm thinking what I might end up doing is cannibalizing another weapon from one of my other figures and attaching a 5mm peg here, just gluing one on here, because this spot in vehicle mode is empty. But you can actually use it as a riot shield. And the way I have been doing it, just kind of get his arms set up, flip this little bit out, and this can just kind of sandwich around his arm. And it doesn't hold super securely, but I mean, it works. So just get that kind of situated. I don't know why it's being more troublesome now than it was before, but yeah. So with a little bit of finagling, you can get Barricade set up with this neat kind of riot shield look, and I really, really like that. This is just a super neat look as far as I'm concerned. I am all sorts of into this. That looks really cool. And it's kind of a shame he's a bad guy because he's so neat. But I guess I can make do. Oh, and one other thing that I picked up on when I was messing around with him, by attaching this back to his arm, wrapping it around, it can also sort of work to take this and kind of thread it over some of those gun spokes. And it's, again, not the most secure connection, but you can kind of do that, and it almost lines up. You can kind of see it in here. This little extra bit here almost lines up with the back there, and I feel like if I could carve that out, the little gun barrel thing, if I could carve that back out a little bit, I could get it to more snugly attach. And that way, I'd be able to use all the accessories. And that still looks really cool. I still really, really like how it looks with the little popped off riot shield. Anyway, for a size comparison, here is the sort of general thing. You can see how big he gets. And with a Titan's Return Deluxe, and he goes from being a slightly longer car to a slightly shorter robot, but I think, it's okay. He's not that much shorter. I mean, I guess you could say he is a head shorter. Ha 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 ha. I'm sorry. But yeah, he's not a bad size, honestly. Might get them out of here. I'm out of here. So yeah, the Last Night Barricade, I actually really like this guy. I think with his accessories, he looks neat. Like he's just a badass getting ready to throw down. I really like just I know it's not an official transformation, but I think it looks really good popping off that back and using it as a shield. And if I could just find a way to get it a little bit more secure, then I think this would be pretty much exactly where I want it. I mean, yeah, the color's a little off here and there. Like I said, the two-tone arms and legs is a little disappointing. But overall, he's just a very, very neat-looking fellow. And yeah, that's not gonna... Because see if this would just stay up. Stay up. If it would just stay up like this. That's all I want. But yeah, he is very neat. Really like the overall shape of this guy and style. It's cool. He's a little short, but he is thick, like stocky. And that works for me. Anyway, that has been my look at the Transformers The Last Night Premiere Edition Deluxe Class Words Barricade. And this guy is very cool. I can't do any comparisons to the other figures in the line because I don't have any of them and I don't plan on getting any of them anytime soon. But this guy, I am glad I got this guy because he is neat and he is going to be pretty cool looking on the shelf with the rest of my movie figures. So, yeah, if you are so inclined, I would definitely suggest getting your hands on him. I actually picked him up off of eBay just bought him directly from Hasbro Toy Shop because it was just flat rate of $20 for the figure, free shipping, and yeah, it actually got here super fast. So if you're looking for this thing, if you can't find it in stores, that's not a bad route to go, I don't think. Anyway, thank you everybody for watching. As per usual, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Any combination of those three would make me a happy Rob. And remember, art is more than meets the eye.